Hello, my dear students. Moving on with the next video lecture. Now, this time we will be talking about the Second Anglo-Sikh War. Now, before that, in my previous lecture, I've given you a detailed lecture on the First Anglo-Sikh War, its causes, event, the treaties, and why Punjab was not, first why the Sikh were defeated, and secondly, why Punjab was not annexed in the British Empire right after the First Anglo Sikh War. Now, in this lecture, let's just dive into some innermost details on the Second Anglo Sikh War, right? Now, let me share this very nice saying. I just took it from the internet. Now, the settlement of Punjab after First Sikh War neither fulfilled the imperialistic designs of the English nor satisfied the Sikhs. Now, this is what I would just explain you in a very simple way that after the First Anglo Sikh War, one, the British now started planning to take possession of the Punjab, while on the other hand, the Sikh wanted to avenge their defeat in the First Anglo Sikh War. Now, result was another war broke out between the British and the Sikh in 1848. And this war proved disastrous for Punjab as it was finally annexed to the British Empire on the 29th March 1849. Right. So, whenever we talk about the Second Anglo Sikh War, and I'm trying to explain it to you, we'll talk in terms of three important aspects. Now, first, the causes. What caused the Second Anglo Sikh War? Number two, the course or the events. What actually were the battles which were fought during this Second Anglo Sikh War? And lastly, the impact or the result of the Second Anglo Sikh War. Of course, we'll be discussing an important issue here. Was Dalhousie's policy of annexation just or unjust? We will be talking about that as well. All right, now let's first do the causes. See, number one is that the Sikh desire to avenge their defeat in the First Anglo Sikh War. Number two, the Punjabis were dissatisfied with the treaties of Lahore and Behrowal. There was resentment among the Sikhs. Then the British policy of reforms, appointment of British on high post, provocative measures of the British soldiers, harsh treatment to Rani Jindal, revolt of Diwan Mulraj, Chhattar Singh, Sher Singh, and finally the imperialistic policy of Lord Dalhousie. Now, these are the important causes which I felt. Of course, a lot of books have like different causes, but end of the day, what I am going to discuss right now is what you will find these in most of these books. Of course, they might have arranged it in a different manner. It depends on you. Understand the topic and accordingly read from your book and make your notes or anything like that. All right. So first important thing, as I told you, was that why the Second Anglo-Sikh War happened, because Sikh wanted to avenge their defeat in the First Anglo-Sikh War. Now, although Sikh were defeated, but that did not demoralize them, because they knew in the Battle of Firoz Shah, they inflicted a crushing defeat, and so much so that General Havelock had to remark that another such action will shake the British Empire. And they also realized that why they failed in the Anglo-Sikh War was not because they were not brave enough, but because of the treachery of their Sikh leaders Lal Singh and Tej Singh. So Sikh soldiers were confident of their abilities and they wanted to avenge the defeat in the First Anglo-Sikh War. Now, second most important, now we've done the treaties of Lahore and Behrowal. I discussed them in detail in my previous lecture. Now, Punjabis were not happy with them. Right now, by the Treaty of Lahore, they took possession of the famous areas like the Jalandhar Doab, the area between the Satluj and Beas, which we also called as the Bisht Doab. They handed over the area of Kashmir to their friend Gulab Singh. So that means they divided the Maharaja Ranjit Singh's empire into three different parts. And people of Punjab could not tolerate what was happening in Punjab. They wanted to revive their old glory, and for this, they were ready to fight another war with the British. Number three, the resentment among the Sikh soldiers. Now, there were three things why the Sikh soldiers were angry. One, the Treaty of Lahore had fixed the strength of the Khalsa army, that is at 20,000 infantry and 12,000 cavalry. They could not have more than this strength. Number two, because these soldiers had they've been defeated in the Anglo-Sikh War, so people taunted them by saying that you have done wonders. Now they were looking for an opportunity to fight back and to avenge their humiliation at the hands of British. Number three, and most important, now we had read that in the Treaty of Bhairowal, the Lahore government had to pay 20 lakhs per year to British in order to meet the expenditure. Now, obviously, to kind of so in order to, kind of pay for these salaries, obviously the Lahore, to pay for that 22 lakh that was to be paid by the Treaty of Bhairowal, so they had to cut down the salaries of their own soldiers. So the Sikh soldiers were also angry, or they had their resentment against the British, right? Obviously, I told you the reason. First, their strength was fixed. Baki sabko they just disbanded them, and they were taunted that how good they had fought. So they wanted to, kind of looking for an opportunity to fight back again and to avenge their humiliation. And then Treaty of Bhairowal, because 22 lakh per year had to be paid, so their salaries were cut down. Right now, these are the 3 points together. Now, the British policy of reforms, appointment of the British on the higher post, and the provocative measures of the British soldiers. Now, this is important here. Now, what might be seen as reforms by the British was actually considered as the interference in the social fabric of Punjab, right? So the people of Punjab thought that politically they have taken over our Punjab, and now social fabric is also being distorted by the Britishers. So, although Henry Lawrence, as the resident in the Lahore Darbar, he wanted to increase the British influence, so he tried to bring about the quick reforms in terms of curbing the infanticide, allowing the widow remarriage. So, all these reforms were taken by him, but this also became one of the reasons for the Second Anglo Sikh War. Of course, after the first Anglo-Sikh War, a majority of the Britishers, they began to be appointed to all the high posts of state, which the people of Punjab did not like. Moreover, the British soldiers who resided at Lahore, they maltreated the Punjabis, they abused them without any reason, they even committed wrongs on the women of Punjab. So, under such circumstances, another war became inevitable, right? So let's just go back and just see what have we done. Now the one reason is because Sikh wanted to avenge their defeat in the first Anglo-Sikh War. The Punjabis were dissatisfied with the Treaty of Lahore and Bhairowal. Then there was resentment among the Sikh soldiers. Of course, the British policy of reforms, appointment of British on the high post, provocative measures of the British soldiers. Now, the next point is the harsh treatment given to Rani Jindhan. Now, Treaty of Lahore had accepted Rani Jindhan as the regent of minor Dalip Singh, but because she was a woman of ambition, which the Britishers understood, so the Treaty of Bhairowal, signed on the 16th of December, it divested the powers of the Rani of Jindhan in the Council of Regency. So she was given first the pension of 1.5 lakh, then later she was detained in the fort of Shekhupura. Her pension was reduced to 12,000. So this kind of maltreatment which was given to Maharani Jindhan, that also sent a wave of anger throughout Punjab. And it's a very famous quote by Khushwant Singh, an eminent historian on the Sikh history who has written this book, The History of the Sikh. He says, the more restrictions, the dishonor British heaped on Jindhan, the more she became heroine in the eyes of people. Then is revolt of Diwan Mulraj. Now this is really important, and this could be something which actually aggravated the grievances between the two and led to the war. Now, what is this, Diwan, who was Diwan Mulraj, and what was the whole issue about? Now, Multan, if you remember, that was the province of the Lahore Raj. and Multan was one of the most important provinces of the Punjab. So the Nazim or the governor of Multan was Swanman, and after his death, his son Mool Raj was appointed as the new Subedar or the new Nazim of Multan. Now, Nazim, Subedar, if I may just kind of talk in terms of contemporary Punjab, see, the Nazim was the head of the province. So he was to look after the law and order, collect revenue. Entire administration was in the hands of the Nazim. The same as we see our Chief Minister, Captain Imrinder Singh. So right now, maybe it is an elected government. So obviously, there are three organs are different, but if you understand this Nazim was something like the chief minister of Punjab. So you can imagine that right now the powers of chief minister is very much limited by the constitution, but at that time the Nazim had the power to maintain the law and order, to collect the land revenue. He was also the chief judicial officer of the Suba or the province. So now Mool Raj is appointed as the new Nazim. Obviously, he was to get the annual, he was to collect the revenue also. But British resident Henry Lawrence, he increased the annual payable tax to the Lahore Darbar by Multan from about 12 lakh to about 1 crore rupee. That was kind of increased. On the other hand, the British now see one, they increased the revenue which was to be payable by Multan. On the other hand, they removed the excise duty on the essential goods. So that means the part of the income of Multan was taken away. Now, since Mool Raj, he could not even increase the taxes without the recommendation of the resident, he was not able to pay the increased taxes. So he tendered his resignation. So he says that I am going to resign as the Subedar of Multan because I cannot pay so much of money. Now, the new resident, Frederick Curie, he decided to nominate Sardar Kahan Singh as the new Nazim. Obviously, the new Nazim would now have to pay the increased money. Now, since they believe that Kahan Singh would be reinstated as the Nazim of Multan, so two English officers, Vance Agnew and Anderson, along with Kahan Singh, was sent, and Mool Raj welcomed them, and on the 19th of April, he handed the keys of the fort to Kahan Singh. So Kahan Singh now was to become the Subedar of Multan. The keys of the fort was handed over to him, but this was not liked by few of the soldiers of the Multan. So some soldiers of Mool Raj, they murdered the British officials and they imprisoned Kahan Singh. Now, although this, as the research papers put up, now Dewan Mool Raj was not aware of this incident, but when Frederick Curie blamed Mool Raj for all this, that enraged him, and then he raised the banner of revolt. When we will talk about this in our events also, now if you think about it as the cause of it, now this revolt, if it was allowed to spread, that was again the policy of the British, because right now the administration is in the hands of the British. So if they want to suppress a revolt, that is the duty of the British. But Lord Dalhousie wanted these revolts to spread so that he gets an opportunity to declare the war against Punjab. The other one is the revolt of Chhatar Singh. Now, who was Chhatar Singh? He was the Nazim or the Subedar of yet another province by the name of Hazara. Now, he had grown suspicious of the designs of the British. He very well could understand that what are British thinking. Now, his daughter was engaged to Maharaja Dalip Singh, but British were absolutely opposed to this matrimonial alliance. They did not want, two these powerful houses to be together. So they kept on, delaying their marriage date. Now, at this time, the advisor to Chhatar Singh was Captain Abbott. Now, he was determined to wipe out the Sikh Empire. So, Captain Abbott on one side tried to be friendly to Chhatar Singh, but on the other hand, he instigated the Muslims of Hazara to attack his residence. Now this is what happened. So when these Muslims they started attacking their residents, he ordered Colonel Kanora to take action against the rebels. Now even this colonel was in league with Captain Abbott. Now Captain Abbott and Colonel they wanted to create conditions in Punjab where another war is inevitable. So that is what happens now. This the Muslims of Hazara are about to attack his residence. Now when he sees that no help is getting he's getting no help from the Britishers, so obviously when he refused to comply with his orders. On the other hand, Colonel Kanora he fired two shots which killed two of the six soldiers. At the same time, the Sikh soldier beheaded the colonel. And when this news reached Captain Abbott, who was the advisor to Chatar Singh, he flew into rage and he removed Chatar Singh from his Jagir, that is the Jagir of Hazara. Now, obviously, he revolted. So, this is the revolt of Chatar Singh. However, your books might be having more details to it, but out here, I just want to make you understand this, right? And then now there is a revolt of Mulraj, the Nazim of Multan. There is a revolt of Chatar Singh, the Nazim of Hazara. Now comes the revolt of Sher Singh. Now, Sher Singh was the son of Chatar Singh and he was also the member of the Council of Regency. But when he came to know about the maltreatment which was given to his father by the British, he too raised the banner of revolt. Now, Sher Singh had always been loyal to British and that is what he believed in. But under the given circumstances, what the British were doing to his father, he too raised the banner of revolt. And while he revolted, he did a declaration. He appealed to the people of Punjab to rise in revolt against the treacherous British. The Sikh soldiers responded to this appeal and gathered under the banner of Sher Singh, right? So these revolts, now this is very very important. All these revolts, revolt of Mulraj, revolt of Chatar Singh, revolt of Sher Singh. Now if Lord Dalhousie wanted, these revolts could have been suppressed, but he wanted these revolts to go out of proportion so that he gets an opportunity to declare the war, right? Now the policy of Lord Dalhousie. Now he was an imperialist, bache. In 1848 he was the new Governor General, and being an imperialist, he used varied means to annex the Indian states to British Empire. Now one of the ways he introduced was the doctrine of lapse. You've done in your semester 3 that through the doctrine of lapse, many of the Indian states were made the part of the British Empire. And here he used these revolts as the golden opportunity to declare a war against Punjab. The British commander in chief, Lord Hugh Gough, was sent to Lahore on the 13th November 1848. On 16th November, he proceeded towards Chenab with his army to face Sher Singh. Now, Britishers, however, did not declare war. How could they? Now, how could they? Why? Because the entire administration was under Britishers. How could you declare war against yourself? Right. So there are these certain things. There are various books on the Second Anglo-Sikh War. One of the book which I love reading is the one by Khushwant Singh. Very simple and absolutely amazing book to read if you really want to know much more about this revolt, right? Now, so eventually the war breaks out. Let me just talk in detail how this war broke out. So it just started like when Diwan Mulraj, he started his revolt. It's just that bache, that revolt and other people joined in his with his revolt. It was Sher Singh or Chatar Singh. They just joined, all of them joined together to fight against the British, right? So, हालांकि जब हम लोग we'll just talk about what they did actually was they tried to create misunderstanding between Mulraj and Sher Singh. So we'll talk about that in detail. Now let's talk about the course or the events of the Second Anglo-Sikh War. Now in this first you'll talk about the Battle of Ramnagar. Just hold on, Machi. Okay, so first is the Battle of Ramnagar, Battle of Childenwal, Battle of Multan, and Battle of Gujarat. Right now, these were the four battles which were fought during the Second Anglo-Sikh War. Now let's talk about the Battle of Ramnagar. Now that was fought on the 22nd November 1848, and this time Lord Hugo Gough was the commander of the British Army, which comprised of about 20,000 soldiers and 100 guns. The Sikh army was commanded by Sher Singh, which comprised of 15,000 soldiers. Now, although whenever we talk about this particular war, uh, it was there that the Sikh did inflict a crushing defeat on the British. In fact, General Havelock and General Cureton were killed in the battlefield, and from this battle, Hugo Gough realized that it was not a child's play to face the Sikh. In fact, historians they believe that the battle or the action of Ramnagar was the signal defeat for the British. And you'll understand that yes, there were these battles they were losing, and then they used this way of kind of creating misunderstanding between the leaders. Then is the Battle of Chillenwal. Now, this was fought on the 13th January 1849, and this was one of the most significant battles of the Second Anglo-Sikh War. Again, Lord Hugo Gough was the commander. Now, since he felt that he did not have the strong force to deal with Sher Singh, he decided to wait for the reinforcements. So, but when he came to know that Chhattar Singh is also about to come to the help of Sher Singh, he attacked the soldiers of Sher Singh on the 13th of January 1848. And when we talk about this battle, it was one of the hardest and the fiercest battles. It is said that the Sikh fought with great determination. In fact, they brought havoc in the British army. Now, British soldiers lost about 695 soldiers, including 132 officers, and about 651 soldiers were wounded. Four British guns were also captured. Now, Sita Ram Kohli, one of the eminent historians, says that Chillenwara was the worst defeat the British had ever witnessed or suffered since their occupation of India. Another historian remarks that Chillenwara became a salter yard rather than a British victory. And after this battle, they actually realized that they need to change their strategy. So it was decided by the British government to appoint Sir Charles Napier as the commander-in-chief in place of Lord Hugo Gough, right? So we've done the Battle of Ramnagar, 22nd November 1848, and 13 January 1849 is the Battle of Chillenwal, and in this the British were absolutely defeated. Then comes the Battle of Multan. Now, Battle of Multan wasn't as such a battle because here Diwan Mulraj had raised the banner of revolt against the British at Multan in April 1848. So British just followed, allowed the revolt to spread, and later Sher Singh joined Diwan Mulraj. The war did take place between two sides, but Mulraj could not be victorious. And at last, the British, they knew that the things may turn against them. So the British, they forged a letter and created misunderstanding between Mulraj and Sher Singh. As a result, Sher Singh parted company with Mulraj in October 1848. General Vish besieged the fort of Multan. At last, on 22nd January 1849, Diwan Mulraj was forced to surrender to British and handed over the fort to the Britishers. Now, last in this battle is the Battle of Gujarat. Now, this proved to be the most important and the decisive battle of Second Anglo-Sikh War. Now, in this battle, Sher Singh and Bhai Maharaj Singh made a united front against the British. Now here, Bachi, another important thing to remember is that here even the king of Afghanistan, Dost Muhammad Khan, he also sent about 3,000 cavaliers under the command of his son Akbar Khan to help Sikh. So in the Battle of Gujarat, the last battle of this important event, there was on one side there was the British, and the other side the forces were led by Sher Singh Bhai Maharaj, and additional forces were sent by the king of Afghanistan, Dost Muhammad, under the command of his son. Now, Sikh army, it totaled about 40,000 soldiers. On the other hand, English army was led by Lord Hugh Gough. Now, although Bache, we know that in the previous battle, he was replaced by Sir Charles Napier, but till now he had not reached, and the British army had about 68,000 soldiers. Now, because guns were used extensively in this battle, so this is also known as the Battle of Guns. This started on the 21st February 1849. The ammunition of the Sikh soon exhausted. When the British came to know about this, they made a fierce attack. Now, Sikhs here, they felt that even if their ammunition was exhausted, they still tried to unsheath their swords. But of course, that just could not help them. So let me just read out for you a little more that I wanted to read here. Now, battle started at 7:30 a.m. on the 21st of February. Now, the ammunition of the Sikh was soon exhausted, and when the Britishers came to know about it, they made a fierce attack on the Sikh. The Sikh soldiers now they unsheathed their swords, but they could not resist the gun for a very long time. Now, Sikhs suffered very heavy losses here. 3 to 5,000 of their soldiers were killed in the battle. 53 guns fell into the hands of the British, and on the other side, only 96 soldiers of the British army were killed. Now, after this battle, the Sikh soldiers fled from the battlefield. The British chased them. Now, on the 10th of March, very, very important, on the 10th of March 1848, Chhatar Singh, Sher Singh, and other leaders they surrendered near Rawalpindi before General Gilbert. On 14th of March, the rest of the soldiers collectively surrendered before the general. While laying down their arms, the soldiers could not restrain their tears, and they kept on saying, "Today Ranjit Singh has died." So the Battle of Gujarat placed the coping stone on the edifice of the British Empire in India. Right? Again, Bache, when it comes to kind of, writing this battle or learning about it, please follow the same method as I told you. See, anything in terms of learning in history, which requires learning like too much of information, too many battles, please use tables. So tabular form, pictographic form is the only way that you can learn these battles. Right? Now let's talk about the impact. Now we've done the causes, we've done the events. Now let's talk about the impact. What really happened after the Second Anglo-Sikh War? Number one, end of the empire of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Sikh army was completely disbanded. Banishment of Moolraj and Bhai Maharaj Singh. Punishments were given to Sardar Chhatar Singh and Sher Singh. A new administration, which we call as the Board of Administration. My next lecture will be on this. That what was the administration after the annexation of Punjab, the new administration for Punjab, and friendly attitude towards the princely states of Punjab, because they wanted to build these princely states as their backbone. So let's just do much more details on that. Okay, so first of all, Bache, obviously on the 29th of March, the Punjab became the part of the British Empire. The last Sikh Maharaja Dalip Singh was dethroned. His annual pension was fixed at about 4 to 5 lakh rupee. He was allowed to live in any part of India except Punjab. The whole property of Lahore Darbar was confiscated. The famous Kohinoor diamond was taken away from Maharaja Dalip Singh, and that was presented as a gift to Queen Victoria. So after some time, Dalip Singh was sent to England, where he died in Paris in 1893. To know more about Dalip Singh, there are various books which have been written, but I would especially refer to the movie Black Prince. I think you will just get the gist of Punjab, what really happened after the Second Anglo-Sikh War. Number two, as I told you, the Sikh army was disbanded. Now, in the first Anglo-Sikh War, they had actually reduced their strength to 20,000 infantry or the 12,000 cavalry. But after the second Anglo-Sikh War, the army was completely disbanded. Majority of these soldiers were engaged in farming, and because these soldiers, their loyalty was not trustworthy, so they could not become the part of the British army to serve rest of the other parts. Number three, as I told you, bache, banishment of Diwan Mulraj and Bhai Maharaj Singh. Mulraj was awarded death sentence because on the charge of murder of two British officers. Later, he was sent to Andaman, and but before that, his health broke down. Consequently, he died in the jail at Calcutta. Now, Bhai Maharaj Singh was first kept in the Allahabad jail, and then he was also sent to Calcutta jail, where later he was sent to Singapore jail, and he died on the 5th July 1856. Now, the same kind of punishments were also given to Chhatar Singh and Sher Singh. They were first kept in Allahabad jail, and then they were transferred to Calcutta jail. However, in 1854, both of them were released. Now comes the new administration. We'll talk about in detail. So from about 1849 to 53, the board of administration was set up, and although later after this it was dissolved and John Lawrence was made the chief commissioner of Punjab. I have my full-fledged video of this particular thing as well. Now, the sixth one is the friendly attitude towards the princely states of Punjab. The states like Patiala, Nabha, Jind, Malerkotla, Kapurthala, and Faridkot. All this they had given the cooperations to the Britishers. So obviously, friendly relations were adopted toward these states, and they did not annex them. They did not annex these princely states to the British Empire. So we have completed one part of our answer where we've talked about the causes, we've talked about the causes, right? Then we've talked about the events, we've talked about the impact. Now, the major question, was annexation just or unjust? Now, let me see how much have we, actually. Okay, we have done about 32 minutes of this video. So I think I will take the annexation being just or unjust in my next video, right? So I think we complete the video part one here, and in the part two, let's talk about it. Was the annexation just or unjust? See you again in my next video, and we will be completing this chapter today, the Second Anglo-Sikh War.